Picking a therapist is pretty hard, even if you happen to be a psychology student yourself. It is not easy, and I believe it's a very valid first step to just look for all the options that you might have, but even that can be confusing, to say the least. Let's talk about questions. Well, your therapist is gonna ask you a lot of questions. That's pretty much their job a lot of the time, right? Just asking questions and making weird faces and stuff. Okay, I'm kidding. I'm partially kidding. But the upside is that you get to ask questions too. And that starts in the first session, actually. It even starts before that, when you first call a therapist. But there's one question that you cannot skip. It's something you have to ask your therapist. If you're thinking about going to therapy, you need to know this about your therapist before you start. And unfortunately, it's something a lot of people just don't know about and don't ask their therapist. And that is, what model of psychotherapy do they use? Every therapist has to use a model, or multiple models. While a therapy session might seem like it's a casual conversation sometimes, your therapist is supposed to be following a technique. It's part of why you're paying them. They're professionals. And therapy styles vary wildly. You should be asking what type of therapy do they do, and you should do some research when they tell you what type it is so that you know if you resonate with that type before you start doing therapy. You need a goal or multiple goals. You need to be following something. Psychology is a science. It's supposed to be research and it's supposed to be peer-reviewed. Psychologists don't just invent things as they go along. And it's extremely important for you to know what type of therapy your psychologist does when you're picking them, or even when you're going through the process, because like one type of therapy has nothing to do with another type of therapy. Like there are hundreds of different types. And imagine you hate cognitive behavioral therapy, for example. If you just try that and you don't even know there are other things, you might just be turned off to therapy completely and never come back. And it's just because you tried something that wasn't fitting for you personally. Now, this is the important bit. There are 4 major types of therapy. You can mix and match between them. There are hundreds of different subtypes, but they all fall under these 4. And when you're looking for therapy, before you look for a therapist, maybe try and think about what kind of model would be more fitting to you and try and build from there. It doesn't mean that you only have to go with one type, but remember what I said. Maybe you just don't resonate with something, or you lean towards another thing. Now, most people, when they think about a therapy session, they probably think of something along the lines of psychoanalysis, which is from the Psychodynamic Model. You have chairs across from each other and you talk about the unconscious. You either start by talking about the present and explore where certain things come from, like fears and anxieties and such. And there are other therapists that will straight up ask you about your childhood and focus on your sessions on that. I'm actually going through this type of therapy right now. I have a therapist that studied a model that comes from Jung, and it's very interesting. It's a mix between actual Jungian ideology, which is a bit darker than most approaches, and it's focused on overcoming things and giving things their appropriate value. So we talk about my past in my therapy sessions, but it's only when it makes sense to. It's not all the time. The key here is that psychodynamic models, they focus on the unconscious. And there's actually another model very similar to this one where there's a lot of talking, a lot of exploring of the personal perceptions and such, but the focus would be on the conscious instead of the unconscious. And that would be called the Humanistic Model. That would be the key difference. But another pretty big difference is that psychoanalysis, it's usually pretty dark and philosophical, whilst the humanistic models are, well, not. The humanistic models assume that a person's goal and nature is to improve and be better, and its foundation is the unconditional acceptance of the client. I think that positive psychology has a little bit to do with this, but maybe don't quote me on that. That's just my opinion. Now, you probably heard of these systemic models as well. That would be couples therapy, family therapy. Those kinds would be considered systemic therapy, but actually you can even go to a systemic model type therapy by yourself. For a model to be systemic, it doesn't have to be between 2 people or more. This model is just built around the idea that no person is an island. We're made by the people that surround us, and personal relationships are everything. There are several techniques and strategies and approaches to focus on something that really isn't there present at the session, as in you can't bring all of your family to every session that you do, but systemic type therapies are focused on your family and your relations, your friendships, and all of that. And of course, there is also couples therapy, family therapy, where everyone is present at the session. And last but certainly not least, there's cognitive and behavioral therapy. This is commonly known as CBT, and this must be almost as popular as Zoom right now. I swear to God, like over half the people that I know who are in therapy are in CBT. And I mean, there's good reason for that. It's based on science, and usually people do like to see that they're putting money into something that does give them a reward. It's a lot more probable, and like you have actual specific goals that you're working on when you go to therapy. It's not open-ended at all. The basis of CBT is that you do what you think, and in turn that makes you do, and in turn that makes you think, and so on. As in, if you believe something, you'll do it. If you do something, you'll believe that you can do it. It derives from the notions of reinforcement and punishment, that everything that we do and everything that we feel is based off a reward system that we do for ourselves. And when I say punishment, I don't mean like the therapist punishing the patient. I'm sure a lot of people just think like punishment equals electroshock therapy or something, or maybe I'm weird. Anyway, as I was saying, with CBT, you can usually see if you went to therapy, for example, to stop smoking and it's been 12 weeks and now you smoke less than you did like 12 weeks ago, then it's working. If you go to therapy because you're anxious talking to people and a few weeks into it you're getting a little better, then it's working as well. And that's pretty much the essence of CBT. You go in with a goal and you probably leave with a result eventually. That isn't to say that the therapist is just a cold passive robot who hands you homework and tells you what to do. CBT is a lot of the times mixed with other approaches of therapy to progressively tackle different aspects of a person's life. So remember, if you're thinking of starting therapy, or even if you're already doing therapy, please ask your therapist, what kind of therapy model do you follow? And if they answer none, run. Almost whatever else they say, make sure you identify with that model and that you like it, and you probably will be fine. All research shows that the efficacy of different models are basically the same across all patients. What's truly important is that you find a therapist that you like and that you can be honest with, and that helps you improve your overall well-being and mental health. Now, if you want to know more about what a psychology student learns in college, click on this video right here. I have been Kappabyte and I occasionally talk about psychology, and I will see you guys over there.